Today's collective worship is all about how we can serve one another. We're going to start off with a little activity. If your birthday is somewhere between January and June, I want you to stand up. If your birthday is somewhere between July and December, I want you to stay sat down. Now, I want you to imagine that we have a new rule for this term. And that rule is that every person right now who is stood up have got to be the servants of the people who are sat down. Every time they want a drink, you've got to go and get it for them. Every time they want a bagel from the canteen, you've got to go and get it for them. Wherever they want to have their lunch, you've got to go and get it for them. Your job is to serve them. How would you feel? No arguments or anything, don't worry, it's not actually happening, but just have a chat now amongst your class. How would you feel if that happened this term? I have a feeling that that wouldn't go down very well. I know that if I was stood up and I had to serve all the people sat down, I would probably be saying, what have they done to deserve this? What have I done to deserve this? You might be looking around at the people sat down and thinking, I don't want to serve them. There was one time they weren't very nice to me. Or you might be thinking, I work really hard and that person doesn't work as hard, so why should I go and serve them? Well, I want to tell you a story from the Bible. Now, back in these times when Jesus was on earth, people had servants in their homes. They had people there to serve the food, to serve the drinks, to clean up. They often had servants. Their job was to wash the feet of the people who were arriving. And they'd have these grubby, dirty feet, and there were servants whose job it was to wash their feet. Well, in this story, Jesus is going to someone's house for dinner. And Jesus was someone that everyone looked up to. They called him master and teacher. They called him Lord. People would follow him and listen to him and respect him. And he arrived at this house for dinner. And it says in this story that when he arrived, he took a towel and he took a bucket and he got on the floor and he washed the feet of every person around that table. Imagine the Queen coming to visit your school, and when she arrived, instead of going to meet the leadership team or sit in the nicest classroom or the nicest hall, imagine she said, no, I'm going to go and help serve the dinner, or I'm going to go and help clean up, or I'm going to go and help on the field at break time. Well, that's kind of like what Jesus was doing. So have a quick discussion with your class. What would you have done if you had been at that dinner and Jesus came wanting to serve you? A final part of that story that often gets overlooked is the fact that one of the people at this dinner was a guy called Judas. Judas was someone who betrayed Jesus, who handed him over to the Roman soldiers to be killed on the cross. Judas was at this dinner, and it says in the Bible that Jesus already knew that Judas was going to betray him. So when Jesus knelt down to wash Judas's feet, he knew he was washing the feet of a man who was going to betray him in the worst possible way. And he said to his disciples, I am setting you an example of what you need to now go and do. Maybe he's saying to you and me today that he is setting us an example of what he wants us to go and do. Now, I'm not suggesting that we all go about school now washing each other's feet, because that would be a little bit weird. But what other ways can we serve people? Not just the people that we think deserve it, not just the people that we get on with, but how can we go about serving people that we find really difficult? People that we don't really click with, people that said something once that we don't like or did something once that we don't like. Jesus set an example for us about how we can serve one another. So what are some of the ways that you think that you can go about serving people today? Our Bible verse for today says this: My friends, you were chosen to be free. So don't use your freedom as an excuse to just do whatever you want, but use it as an opportunity to serve each other with love. Jesus has given you and me this incredible freedom, but he also shows us how to use that freedom to serve each other with love. Around school, that could mean opening doors for someone. If you see someone drop something, pick it up and give it to them. It could be offering to help someone out when you see them struggling, or showing them the way if they look lost. And to those of you who decide to take on that challenge of looking for opportunities to serve people with love, especially those people that you don't really get on with very well, I just want to say that that is amazing, and that you might feel like no one sees what you're doing, but God sees what you're doing. He sees the effort that you're making, and people like you make this school a better place. So we're going to finish today's collective worship by taking just a minute to think of one way that you're going to decide to serve people this week. Get out your planner or get out a piece of paper and write down one idea, something that you're going to be looking out for opportunities to do in order to serve other people.